For nearly 2 years, residents of Flint were largely ignored by local and state officials about discolored and malodorous water that was ultimately determined to have leached toxic lead into the city's drinking water. The response on the part of local officials, especially those appointed by the state government, and Governor Rick Snyder, a Republican, is now under investigation and the subject of several lawsuits. The local congressman, U.S. Representative Dan Kildee, a Democrat, has affirmed what he believes is the underlying cause of the disaster. Kildee called race the single greatest determinant of what happened in Flint. Moreover, Kildee, who is one of the 2 Democrats who have represented the area since 1976, said they treated it like it was a public relations problem, not a public problem for the people in Flint. Millionaire music label owner Russell Simmons said of the Flint water crisis, "It's not a natural disaster, but they should be able to do more. What's happening here, this kind of environmental racism, could be happening in many other parts of the country. If this were Beverly Hills, it would be a minute before we found out and a second before someone would be blamed and brought up on charges." Even outside of the United States, progressive media has singled out racism as the cause for the contamination. The Guardian newspaper of the United Kingdom, for example, ran an article entitled, "Environmental Racism Harms Americans in Flint and Beyond." It said, "Flint is a majority black city. Governor Snyder's denial that the crisis is a product of environmental racism is deplorable and infuriating." In an exclusive interview, Sparrow News asked Edwin Black about the current Flint water crisis.
Would you say that this is an instance of environmental racism that we're facing here?
It's not an instance of environmental racism. It's environmental injustice, environmental indifference. There's my hand, and when I took a shower, my hand broke out in blotches, and it's still in blotches, and I suspect that those blotches will disappear only in a few hours when I fly away from Flint. Environmental injustice is an affliction of the political weak, of the disempowered, of the invisible, and the powerless.
Commenting that 2016 is an election year, Black said,
"So many politicians I know will come in here and say, I will get this fixed in November. There are 3 members of Congress in the political race now. There are people with foundations, multi-million foundations, who attack water crisis in various places. And there is no reason why the Army Corps of Engineers cannot be here tomorrow. Throwing $180 million at this is not going to fix anything. You'll never see that money. It'll be another program. It'll go to the administrators, the subcontractors. It's going to be like a $1,400 tarp in Hurricane Katrina."
Indeed, politicians have already descended on Flint in recent weeks. On February 11th, Chelsea Clinton visited Flint and said there is a moral urgency to respond to the crisis. Her mother, Hillary Clinton, spoke at a church just outside Flint on February 7th and denounced the crisis as immoral. She has since garnered powerful endorsements from 2 leaders of local black churches. On March 6, CNN will broadcast a debate featuring Clinton and Senator Bernie Sanders. And Jesse Jackson said earlier this month that he has been in contact with 50 local pastors to organize a major national march in Flint to focus attention on the crisis. And despite calls from local citizens and politicians, President Barack Obama has not yet signaled that he has plans to visit. I'm Martin Barrios reporting for Sparrow News.